Good evening, Don't Unfriend Me Nation, episode 426. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me and this little show inside of Don't Unfriend Me called Breaking Truth. Allergies. It's like, why? When you get older, hair grows out of places you don't want it to. You get allergies. I mean, come on. You get the gray going on. I mean, seriously. It's time to dye the beard. Get a little scratch. All right. You know, you get older, you hide classified documents, and you go ahead and lambast other presidents for doing it, but not necessarily focus that on yourself. Woo, Joe Biden should be a fun one tonight. We will be right back for 426. I appreciate everybody stopping on by. Good to have you here. Well, we're talking about Joe Biden. It seems like it was just yesterday that Donald Trump was getting raided and having the FBI go through Melania's private stash and laundry hamper. And you heard all of the left freak out and say, oh, how dare he, and clutch their pearls, and how dare a president take top secret information, compartmentalized information out of the Oval Office, even though it happens all the time. Anybody who's worked at Intel, anybody who's worked for an alphabet agency, anyone who has briefed anyone, lieutenant colonel and above, realize that TS information goes out of SCIFs all the time during briefings. It's just your responsibility, obviously, to return it. And I'm not going to sit here and defend Trump 120%, but I'm also not going to lambast and condemn him like the entire left did. Little video I want to show you should shed some light on it. First, it's Joe Biden reflecting back on what he had to say about Donald Trump, and then Peter Doocy doing what I'm going to do, but I'm going to take it a step further. I wish at some time I was just in the press secretary's little chamber so I could ask some questions, and I would be just as hard as Mr. Doocy, who does a great job, but I would take it a step further. Let's watch this.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself, looking at that image?
How that could possibly happen. Yes. How anyone could be that irresponsible.
Even though this guy has been briefed at Camp David, on Air Force One, on Marine One, overseas, it doesn't matter. Even at his private residence, as a vice president, he should understand that it happens all the time. But of course, Joe Biden's doing what he always does, is lying. His mouth's open.
And I thought, what data was in there that may compromise sources and methods? By that, I mean names of people who helped, or et cetera. And it just... kind
of like mentioning SEAL Team 6 being responsible for Osama bin Laden, but that's a complete other story, isn't it?
Totally irresponsible.
And then on these documents, how could anyone be that irresponsible?
Go get him, Pete. Look at that look. She's just like daggers through his eyes. Listen here, you son of a...
Isn't that what this president says about mishandling classified documents?
The president spoke to this personally. He spoke to this personally. He believes that classified documents and information should be taken seriously.
See, Jean-Pierre does not understand that she did not get the subtle hint that those comments were made by President Joe Biden. And she had no idea, cannot believe, she has no clue that he's just throwing questions back at her that ultimately Joe Biden imposed upon Donald Trump. And gloated. This is what happens. It doesn't get any better than this. This would be like Hillary Clinton going ahead and trying to tell all of us how OPSEC and intelligence gathering and the systems and processes in place are so important and critical to the further success of the intel community. Right. Well, she did that too. Not only Joe Biden. I've played that before. It's just so insane. It's like people have a memory of a frickin' goldfish and don't actually recall, and including the press secretary who was briefed on this. You know, she was. They said these are the questions that Fox is they're going to ask. I knew what they were going to ask. And of course they were going to throw Joe Biden right back at him. I mean, the first thing I did when I went ahead and read this article was look up the video where I remember Joe Biden condemning him on 60 Minutes, and look what we've got here.
Takes them seriously, and he was surprised to learn by any
Look at
records.
Pete Doocy smiling.
I disagree. Here's what happened. once
Then why
his.
is there a Justice Department?
Well, let me explain to you the process. Here's what happened when his lawyers found out that the documents were there. They immediately turned them over to the archives.
But they were
But
there
they
in the
immediately
first place. I
turned them
understand
over
that
to the
they
archives.
did the right thing.
Not true.
I'm not going to go into
Bullshit.
specifics, but what I am reiterating to you is what you heard from the president yourself, Peter, which is how he saw the process and how he respects and truly respects and takes
the
this
process
very
by breaking it.
seriously. And when he knew, and how surprised he was by it, and the actions that the right actions that the lawyers took. Again, this is under investigation, is under review by the Department of Justice, and we're going to let that process continue.
How can President Biden be trusted moving forward with America's secrets?
Because his lawyers, his team did the right thing.
But he
Bullshit.
had a closet with
He-
classified
his lawyers
information in
did
it
the
that
right-
they found. How did it get there?
Again,
Did the
he
lawyers
did.
do
He
the
was
right thing?
surprised that the records were there. He spoke to this.
But they
He was
personally.
shocked.
He was surprised that the records were there, and when his lawyers found out and his team found out that they were there, they turned it over to the archives, and now it's being reviewed by the Department of Justice.
What a load of crap, folks. It's not what happened at all. In fact, it's nothing even close to that. So here's some other questions that I have, just a few. I want to reiterate, how could that possibly happen? Well, it can possibly happen because it happens all the time. Every single president, vice president, chief of staff, it doesn't matter, even the first lady, you don't have to only be briefed in the Oval Office. It can happen in many different places. The Situation Room, like I said, it can happen on Air Force One, Marine One. It can happen on Camp David, the private residence, at Mar-a-Lago, in Rehoboth or Wilmington. It doesn't matter. Because ultimately an attaché is going to bring that intelligence to the president. Now, if there's leftover envelopes and folders and things like that, folks, to sit here and say that politicians are not lazy when it comes to intelligence and the maintenance and the security and the chain of custodial records from one hand to another, well, you're not going to get me to argue on either side there. But to sit here and pretend it doesn't happen ever is a complete lie and a fallacy. How could anyone be so irresponsible? Oh, I don't know. Bay of Pigs, Iran-Contra hearings, I don't know, Japanese internment camps. Maybe Tuskegee comes to mind, not the airmen, but the venereal disease. I don't know. Slavery, suffrage, civil rights. I mean, United States government poisoning people during Prohibition in order to get them to stop drinking and bootlegging alcohol. I mean, we can go on and on and on. The government in itself is antithetical to responsibility. Nobody holds anyone accountable. What makes you think that Joe Biden isn't going to go ahead and make his life easy? Oh, geez, Jill, I got to go ahead and head back from Delaware. Why? Well, I have a briefing at 8 a.m. They can't possibly do it here. They can't possibly bring those documents and photographic evidence. And then by digital means, it needs to be hand carried in an envelope with a guy with a handcuff. What is this, 1960? The question is what data was in there that could compromise resources and methods? I mean, we all heard that Donald Trump was stealing because he was so hard up for money that he was stealing nuclear codes and records and selling security and operational security tactics based upon nuclear codes and our arsenal and the nuclear football and selling it to Putin. I mean, this is the stupidity of these people. Well, what was in Joe Biden's? I mean, the media has been going around and going, oh, well, it's just 10 documents. It was actually hundreds for Donald Trump. No, it wasn't. It was photographs, newspaper clippings. We actually looked through the inventory receipt from the FBI, which only had 19 TSI or secret items. Some of them were empty folders. Once again, just because somebody brings something into your domicile as an attaché, it doesn't necessarily mean that those documents made it back with them. They could be destroyed on site. And if you think that the United States government doesn't reuse folders, it happens. Why wouldn't they? What do you expect? Someone to go into Mar-a-Lago, a foreign government comes in and sends in a commando team to get what? And what about locked closets? I mean, that's what Joe Biden said, and his team is that the information was secure behind a locked closet. Well, I thought locked closets were bad. Isn't that what they did in January and February when they went ahead and raided Mar-a-Lago, or excuse me, issued the first warrant and found that material was in a locked closet, and then they were advised to simply add beefed up security and to add an extra lock to the door? Doesn't that sound like entrapment that they were back 90 days later? But it's okay for Joe Biden to do it? And to sit here and say that his lawyers did the right thing and they were just holier than thou, and angel dust follows them around forever instead of a little storm cloud, that they went ahead and released this information. They did it 4 days. They found out 4 days before the midterms, and they just released it this week. That's 2 months. And yes, I understand Donald Trump was aware of the documents that he had up to a year. I'm not saying that Donald Trump didn't go ahead and slow roll this. I'm not saying he didn't go ahead and play with the National Archives a little bit and essentially say, I'm the president of the United States. You're not going to tell me when to stand up or sit down. I don't give a crap. Fine. That's Donald Trump, and it's being Donald Trump. But Joe Biden purposely slow rolled this. It's like Hunter Biden 2.0, except he didn't leverage Twitter and Facebook to do it. Oh, but wait a second. Just to let you know, Twitter and Facebook and other social media groups are throttling this story, and they're putting fact checks. They're sure there's going to be one on mine somehow that I'm not telling the truth. Will Biden pretend to not know about this process and that nobody told him about it, just like with Trump? Remember when he said, oh, no, I had no idea. DOJ didn't brief me. They were raiding Trump. I had no clue. As the president of the United States, do you really feel that they didn't come to him back in November and tell him this? Well, of course they did. It's always narrative over fact with the left. It's always more important to go ahead and speak their truth, her truth, his truth. How about just the truth? It stands on its own merit. And will there be a special counsel appointed? I mean, shouldn't we go ahead and have an investigation now? When time will they be raiding him? Is that going to happen in the morning, in the wee hours at 3 a.m.? Or are we going to do this in the middle of the day? Will there be news cameras there? Do you think Biden's going to request a special magistrate to review the files to see if actually he had the authority? And also, are you going to go ahead and charge him with the Espionage Act? How about treason? Remember, that's everything they wanted to go after Donald Trump for. And here's the thing, the whole entire story. I don't care. I don't care that Donald Trump did it. I don't care that Joe Biden did it. Presidents, vice presidents, senators, congressmen, anyone with a TSI usually has to go ahead and keep compartmentalized information where it's designed to be. The president of the United States and the vice president get a little bit of leeway. I don't care. What I care about is the level of hypocrisy. People pretending that this is no big deal, and all the stupid media making excuses over the last 12 hours saying, oh, it's only 10 documents. This is not the same thing. And every one of them put the same story out, which was obviously set up by the DNC and the Democrats to say comparative analysis between Donald Trump and Biden's secret clearance and secret documents. But then what happened? Literally 11 hours later, whoops, we found some more. This isn't a one-off. This is a consistent thing. And if they dig deep enough, they will find garbage on every president, every VP. And I could care less. I couldn't care less. Folks, we have one thing that we should have a standard for, and that is consistency and accountability. That's the standard. Joe Biden, he doesn't need to be raided. He doesn't need a special counsel. He doesn't need a special master. What they need is to honestly educate these politicians on the security lapses that they are creating and the danger it has on the intelligence community. And then once they get that brief, if they decide not to follow the rules, then you can talk about charges. Then you can talk about all of those other things. But until that day that you're Hillary Clinton and you go ahead and delete 34,000 emails and ignore a cease and desist from the Department of Justice and bleach bit everything and destroy all your phones and lie and perjure and literally deal every single person who is a witness and get them clarified immunity, well, unless you actually meant to do it, Miss Clinton, it's not a crime either. Folks, thanks for watching tonight. Should be fun to watch this play out. I can't simply wait to see what's next. I bet you this, they find more information. This isn't the last, and I promise you other people will come out of the woodwork and be like, whoopsie, Joe Biden did it again, Britney Spears style. Folks, do me a favor. If you would like to, and I hope you do, please stop by the Don't Unfriend Me show at The Dumb Show across all social media. And you can visit at thedumshow.com or don'tunfriendme.com. We've got both URLs now to go buy yourself some cool shirts and some hats. I want to say thank you to Raymond's Trophy Shop and Cousins in California. You can look it up. They ship all over the country. If you're looking for some trophies for Little League or competitive shooting or for the Cheesecake of the Month Club, it doesn't matter. Also, do me one more favor. Go buy some coffee over at don'tunfriendme.com and visit my good friends at PercivalFlag.com. Also at pfcflags.com, we simplified that address as well, and you can visit it and pick yourself up a cool wooden flag from pfcflags.com. Folks, that's it for the advertisements. I appreciate it. Join me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live, and then Monday through Friday with a recorded show like we did tonight. Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. 22 veterans commit suicide a day. It is way too many. Please provide this number to a veteran. You could save a life. Thank you so much. I will see you tonight live. God bless, and please try to be nice to each other.